was 11 years old, I learnt that eldest daughters bear the brunt and have to step up for incompetent fathers.
Eldest daughters are tired. Do you want to see why eldest daughters are tired? Have a look at this.
And I'm not talking about homes where the dad is not present. I'm not talking about single parent households. I'm talking about homes where the dad is physically present. So
a lot of us have grown up with two parents being physically present, but one parent being functionally or emotionally absent. And that still has the same impact as growing up with only one parent.
What happened was, it was a Thursday and my mom's friend calls my mom and asks my mom to check in on her kids at the weekend. So my mom's friend was going away at the weekend and she said she wanted my mom to do a drop-in to see if her kids were okay on throughout the days of the weekend. So my mom said, considering that your eldest is a minor, they can just stay at our house, because my mom was uncomfortable at the thought of, like, you know, a minor being left home alone with two younger children.
Good mom.
But my mom's friend doubled down and was insistent that they were going to be fine. All my mom needed to do was like check in on them and check that everything was okay, check they were eating, blah, 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 blah. So the weekend comes around and I follow my mom and we stop off at the grocery store to like get a couple things for them, a couple snacks. And then when we get to their house, I run out of the car, knock on the door while my mom is like, you know, locking the car and dealing with the stuff in the boot. I run to see my friend because the eldest was also like kind of my acquaintance. She was a little older than me, but we were kind of like acquaintances. But I walk into the house, I get into the kitchen and I see this 13-year-old pounding yam. She was pounding yam. If you're not from Nigeria, just imagine how you make fufu or like ugali, or I don't know where my followers are from. So she was pounding yam. While she's pounding yam, she's like shouting at like her siblings to get down from whatever it was they were jumping on. It's really giving single mom who works two jobs. So I'm trying to chat.
It's giving mini mum. The mum's not there, but she's playing the mum role while mum is not there. But that's a lot for a 13-year-old, no?
To her here and there. And then like half a minute later, I hear their dad shouting, "It's not ready. The food's not ready." And
whoa, wait, dad's at home? Wait, sorry. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm just laughing out of like, wait, what?
She's like, "Oh, it's almost ready, dad." So me being me, one, I could not mind my business. In my mother tongue, we call it amebo. I was a professional amebo as a kid. So me being me is now very, very confused, because I was like, I thought you guys were home alone because your mom was, you know, your mom asked us to check in on you guys because we thought you were home alone.
But functionally, they are home alone. They are home alone.
And then my friend now visibly starts, you know, getting shifty. So I'm like, oh, like, your dad's working this entire weekend, so he's, you know, home on a break. And she said, oh no, my dad doesn't work on weekends. And I was like, your dad doesn't work on weekends. He doesn't travel with your mom. He didn't travel with your mom. You guys aren't home alone.
So what's he doing?
So I was kind of like, why was your mom so concerned? And she was like, oh, you know, my dad doesn't know how my siblings like their food, and my dad doesn't know how to do. My dad doesn't know how to. I said, hey.
And this poor girl is now under stress and pressure from obviously questions from somebody outside. And now she's saying, my dad doesn't know how to. My dad doesn't know how to. No, he fully knows how to. He just doesn't want to. It's not that he's not capable. He's a fully grown man. And the mum knows this. Because if she didn't know this, why would she be sending somebody round to check? And this is where the making excuses for bad behaviour, this is where it begins from.
I was a very switched on kid. So I could tell my friend was uncomfortable, so I didn't press further. And my mom came into the house, finally. I don't know why it was taking her so long. Greets the dad, is visibly a little bit confused, doesn't say anything. So we check that, you know, everything is good, and then we leave. And then in the car on the way home, my mom is, you know, she's not saying much, but I can see she's visibly tense. I can see that she's visibly annoyed. If that is not a gross example of the adultification of eldest daughters, I don't know what is. And this is such a nasty thing that I think plagues, you know, the African community more than anything.
Caribbeans too, babe.
And every time I tell a story these days, you guys always ask me for updates. The only update I have is that when sis got to the age of applying to university, she applied to the furthest university away from home.
And that's the reason why I said when you have an opportunity to move, you need to move. If you want to know more about what I say about moving out, I'll have a link at the end of this video for you to watch that video. For anybody who's maybe never really come across this before, generally in immigrant families, in certain cultures, the eldest daughter is essentially an extension of the mother of the household. She is expected, even at a very young age, somehow to have the maturity and the adult decision making of her mother. And it happens in particular to girls because their role is to make sure that they emulate their mother's hard work, their mother's work ethic, the mother's role of taking care of the family, especially taking care of the men in the family. Whew, it's a lot. It's a lot. Emotionally, mentally, the burden of being the eldest girl is really hard. Let's look at some of the symptoms and issues that can affect eldest daughters.
This is the oldest daughter core. They are the parentified child. They think that they have to fix everything and everyone around them, so they're like in charge. Like they do their best to manage everybody's anxiety.
The parentified child. This is the child that is not allowed to be a child. They have to be an adult and fill an adult's role even at a very young age. Childhood, what's that? It's robbed from you.
Okay, they're like almost hypersensitive, but they all almost like put their anxiety away and their feelings away.
And a lot of the times, this doesn't just extend to the physical labor of the household. This extends to the emotional labor of the household. Physical labor would be, for example, your parents having a lot of children, and then you're the one that's expected to be a mini mother and help to look after and control all of the children. Or your younger siblings' behavior being blamed on you because you're older and you're supposed to tell them what to do, when you're like, but I'm a whole child myself, how am I supposed to control my siblings' behavior? So again, being put in that role of you're supposed to behave like an adult rather than behave like a child. In terms of emotions, having to manage everybody else's emotions, they don't take care of your emotions, and unfortunately you end up being the person that's taking care of everybody else's emotions, or parents actually emotionally dump on their child, again behaving with this child as if they're an adult, not realizing that they don't have the emotional maturity to deal with some of this adult stuff. Like there's some stuff that's just adult stuff to deal with that kids should just not be trying to handle at a young age. Eldest daughters very often are the ones that are expected to somehow be the emotional sponge and just absorb all of this stuff. As an eldest daughter, were you the parentified child?
Her time in her room, and she fantasizes about meeting this man who will, you know, see her for who she is instead of like how she performs, if that makes sense, because she's just taking care of everybody, but she doesn't want to take care of everybody. She wants to be taken care of.
She just read me like a book. And it's funny, I've never spoken to anybody about this, but here, the whole internet is going to hear about this today. I did used to spend a lot of time in my room. A lot of it was, this is a space where I'm allowed to just rest mentally and emotionally and not have to think about anybody else's emotions or thoughts but mine. And I used to fantasize about one day falling in love. Again, like I mentioned in my last video, getting into an adult relationship. It's not even about actually falling in love and being in a relationship anymore. It's about trying to get away from a home situation that's not healthy.
And although she's like really burnt out, tired and exhausted emotionally, mentally and physically, she habitually conceals all those emotions because she will just think that it's insignificant. Oh, and she's probably secretly depressed. And by the
yeah, so that happened to me as well. Have you ever had any of these symptoms or issues in your life?
And by the time she brings up like an issue or something that she went through, it's already taken care of. It's already in the past tense. It's already done. And I don't know why they do that.
Especially when your parents, they're the first generation to come to a new country. Your parents, for a significant amount of time, they are in survival mode. And a lot of our parents didn't come from environments where the emotional side of things was nurtured. The eldest daughter in the household is expected to pick up the slack. Being an eldest daughter, being a late bloomer because of this whole dynamic can be a rough ride. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. Here's another video you can watch if you would like to hear more.